Right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I call to order the committee of the whole meeting at 6:30 in the boardroom of OPRF High School. Please call the roll.
Mr. Brisbane. Dr. Odell.
Present.
Mr. Arkin.
Present.
Mr. Kurtz. Dr. Livingston. Mr. Brandhouse.
Here.
And Ms. Williams-Lee.
Here. I move to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointments, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district and independent contractors and specific volunteers, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this act. Collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Dr. Odell.
Yes.
Mr. Arkin.
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz. Mr. Brisbane.
Here.
Mr. Brandhouse.
Yeah.
Dr. Livingston. Ms. Williams-Lee.
Yes.
Well, it's always one of the two.
You said here.
That's a 50%.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We are going to reopen open session. And we'll start with any public comments.
No.
Okay, well, next, I move to approve the December 4th, 2025 Committee of the Whole minutes as presented. And are there any corrections or adjustments that need to be made? No? May I have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Our next topic is finance with the resolution for directing the preparation of tentative budget and reading up Ms. Arbogast.
Good evening. So each January, we bring forward the budget schedule for the forthcoming year. Right now, we are bringing forward the proposed calendar. February to June is when we start planning and putting reports together and outlining our budget. In June is when we will give a preliminary budget presentation. Then August, it's reviewed, and then we bring the tentative budget forward. Ultimately, finishing in October when we file our budget with this state for the upcoming year. So this is just the presentation of the calendar and then the resolution that authorizes the board for the business office to start work on next year's budget.
Any questions?
I just have a basic question for my own understanding. So this is the 26-27 school year
Correct.
budget, which isn't finally approved actually until September 26th. So we're already into that school year when the approval takes place.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question about the sort of the process and how the health insurance determination and process intersects with the main budget process. If I understand, we sort of create a percentage of our expected healthcare increase as part of the regular budget process.
Yes, so
Talk about.
yeah, when it comes to forecasted expenses such as the health insurance acts on a calendar year. So for roughly half of our fiscal year, we know what that increase is because it's based off of the increases that came as of January 1st. When we have our renewals next year, we have a projected budget that their projected increase that lives within our 5-year financial projections. And that is the number we base the second half of the year off of when we do our budgeting. And then our goal then during the renewal time is to pull that number at or below what we have projected for the remainder of the year.
Is that something that you oversee or standards of the committee that?
The percentage increase in the budget is Brian and Paul and myself.
But the healthcare changes themselves, is that?
That's a collaboration between Dr. Sanders and myself and Brian and the rest of the insurance committee.
Thanks.
Quick question. Just in terms of your plans for this budget process, what are your expectations and what do you expect to be doing differently to make sure that we're effectively spending our tax dollars?
Sure. We have, as always, this budget will be zero-based budgeted. What that means is we strip the budget down and start from scratch. We have our known increases, but we don't just say apply like a flat 3 or 4% increase across different areas, but really look at where our expenses are. I don't want to say we're going to start to be collaborative, because it's always an incredibly collaborative process internally as we do our budget. You know, as we bring our EBF model forward with staffing and start to look at different expenses that we have and determining, you know, is it the appropriate time to go to bid for transportation, or is the renewal in line or better than what we're seeing in market from other districts? We really will pull all we can in there, and then start to see you know, where we feel there's areas of savings that can be had to continue to work towards our targeted reductions.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board members online?
No, not right now. Thanks.
Next, we have the student Chromebook purchase.
Yes, this is a process that started about 3 years ago. It's money that has been approved in our budget already for the purchase of Chromebooks, as well as the service and etching of those devices. We've come in below our targeted budget for this purchase. Given the total dollar amount for the purchase of $434,470, we bring it forward for transparency purposes for the board to approve again.
Any questions about the Chromebook purchases?
So I forgive me if you already answered these last year, because I know I brought up a similar question last year, but I know that we you know, we pay for you know, battery replacement for every single Chromebook. And would you just if you have the data on hand, tell me how many times we had to replace a battery for a Chromebook?
I do not have that data available. The battery charge you may be referring to, actually, what it may be referencing is the better battery that we upgrade the devices to, in order for the devices to make it through the full school day. Otherwise, you know, standard device, you know, at a 3-4 hour charge wouldn't last a student during the school day.
I see. So it's actually necessary. You're buying a battery to optimize the performance. That's what that charges.
Yep.
Okay. And then the 3-year warranty or 3-year coverage. I guess I'm just curious how many you know, repair issues we've had over the years, and if we could look at that sizable cost, and if whether or not it's justifiable to look at you know, whether it makes sense to just see what the cost would be on a trial basis on what repair would be for if we have have historically had few incidents. I'm just curious about that.
Eric, I don't know if you know off the top of your head. If not, we can research this and definitely take a look at it. I know throughout the year we're pretty busy in repairs for both Chromebooks and then staff devices as well. As things either go wrong, or you know, devices dropped, or screen breaks or something like that. But we'll in terms of the total amount of claims, we'll have to pull that data.
Okay, that'd be great. Just curious. Thanks.
I am not seeing any more questions, so our next topic is the purchase of the wheelchair accessible activity bus.
Sure, very similar. This was in our budget for the current fiscal year. We have a wheelchair bus that is really on its last legs and ready to be replaced. It doesn't make sense to continue to put money into repairing the vehicle and extending its life. So this is next up on our replacement cycle. It's a 12+1 passenger activity bus that is fit for wheelchair accessibility. In our budget, we had planned for $115,000. This expense will be $93,852.
I have pretty intimate knowledge of the buses since I spent several years driving them around. And I will say, and I've said before that I think that part of our problem with the buses is that they have suffered from a lack of adequate preventive maintenance.
I would like to interject and say, I would say over the past year, really since Mr. Thomas has been here, he's changed that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can just say that I know that there was a point in time, especially around the pandemic, that things went way off the rails. And so the question I ask is, so we've got 7 of these buses. Do you have some kind of a schedule of first of all, a schedule of replacement so that you know exactly when each one will be replaced and that's reflected within your budget?
Yes, Mr. Thomas has built a master fleet schedule that outlines all of our buses, the expected life of the buses, and then escalating costs when we anticipate it would be time to replace that vehicle.
Right. And then is there an overall preventive maintenance program
Yes,
to make sure that we can extend the life? Because I mean, frankly, school buses, you can measure school buses, really their useful life sometimes in decades rather than in years, if they're properly maintained.
yes, agreed. We've got a very thorough preventative maintenance plan now. Vehicles are serviced it's actually for a student who does our special education and field trip transportation. They have a service now where the same service that they provide that keeps their buses running to their maximum life, they will offer to school districts. So all of our buses go there, they're put through state required testing, everything from brakes to oil changes are on a schedule. Ken's pretty thorough, so he knows when it's time for oil changes, but had we miss one, let's say, they'll reach out and say, hey, just so you know, this bus was due in a couple weeks ago for their oil change, you better bring it in soon, it's time to rotate it out. So I think another thing that we've really taken a hard look at is there's been a past practice of purchasing used vehicles at times. I don't want to say well, it would never make sense to do that, but getting back in line of when we do purchase a vehicle, having it be new with a warranty, so we get a much longer useful life out of it.
Okay, and thank you for the work on this, because I think this was a money pit 2 or 3 years ago.
So I noticed in the quotes, right, so they recommended Central States, and there was mention of Central States holding the state bid for the provision of buses. And then we went to then we also received a bid from another vendor. I think Braun Ability also comes to mind as a vendor for these types of services. How many vendors did we approach for a bid in this process?
We approached 2, we approached 2, Southern Bus and Mobility. They currently hold the Illinois State contract through 2028. That is the vendor that we are recommending that we go with. Central State Busing is another bus company that we bought our previous bus from last year. But you see sizable, financial increase if we were to go with them. So, I mean, we looked at those two, I reached out to other, vendors that we've seen and used in the past, but they didn't provide any bids.
And so, so I also noticed between the two bids, right? One is for a 2025, the other is for a 2026. And they're different vehicles. And then the Southern States bid for the 2025 vehicle mentions that if the 2025 chassis are depleted, that it'll be replaced with 2026 with an upcharge. Do we know what that 2026 upcharge looks like? Right, I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, so ultimately it would equate to 2.2% increase, which is about $2,200 for the 2026 chassis. And speaking to Southern Bus and Mobility, they still have the 2025 chassis available. And they are looking to still have those in stock until June of this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next topic is corporate governance. And I have one topic for this, or one thing for us to talk about. If there's anything else, please let me know. But just getting to our board goals that we have set and put out. One of our commitments is to have regular updates on the status of those goals. And so for our next board meeting, let's plan to be prepared to be able to share just that is where we are. So you can get that information to Ms. Evans the next week. We can put something together just to show progress or what's underway. We'll talk about that more together. Anything else under governance from anybody on the board? And then last for this meeting, will be future agenda items. So Dr. Johnson, is there something we wanted to add on?
Yeah, we mentioned in an earlier meeting that we would discuss here at this one, whether the request to discuss e-learning days or versus snow days, should be a future topic. And there also had been some discussion, I believe, Mr. Brisbane, that's from you, for, if we do go to a snow day or an e-learning day, just some really good clarity on why one decision was made versus the other. And so I, along with our team, and I've actually shared this with others in the community as well, I put together some kind of draft guidelines, right, for where we would kind of lean one way versus the other. I shared that with the board just this past weekend, but I have hard copies here for folks who are here to look at this to help kind of feed this conversation. Happy to go through this in detail if folks would like, or let the board begin the conversation about whether this should be a future agenda item on its own. Just give me a guide how to proceed.
I read this memo.
That's where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I was very contented.
Okay.
What about others? Get a chance to read it or any questions or thoughts about it? From like Graham, when I read it, I thought it answered the questions that I saw came up in that meeting.
Same reaction, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Brad or Josh, anything from your end?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
If I could, just for the sake of engagement here, just for a moment, and I hate to prolong the board meeting. But we ended up discussing this with our delegates as well on Wednesday morning, and the conversation was, this is a fairly light agenda, as you can imagine. There wasn't much conversation from the students about the previous 3 items. This garnered some discussion. And so I don't want to put you on the spot on it if you don't feel like you have anything of real substance to share. But maybe if you could just some insight to that comment.
So the main stuff that caught our attention was basically, well, to give summary, a lot of us were actually like in support of having e-learning days, especially when we learned like we wouldn't have to add on that extra snow day to the end of the year. So that was a big deal for us. And especially since we're all used to Zoom, we all had to do it for like over a year, so that's not a huge deal to us, but we had some notes just about like the general like functionality of it. Because personally, like I had a couple, I think my sophomore year, it was one or two e-learning days. And basically just some notes about how the teachers themselves handle it. Because also a lot of times there's some technological issues that just ends up disrupting and causing unnecessary stress. Like, sorry. Like just not knowing exactly how to, like not posting the link on time, or just not knowing correctly how to like integrate what would have been the lesson plan onto Zoom. So some of our notes were about how it says here somewhere about how it'd be like a full synchronous day, but instead of doing that, it'd be kind of like more lenient attendance wise. Like obviously you would have to go check in with your teacher right away, sign into Zoom right away, get attendance done. But then after that, it would become kind of more like asynchronous, where you could log off the Zoom, have like an assignment posted in Google Classroom about like what your assignment is, and then you obviously have the option to log back onto the, I think it's a Google Meet, like the whole period is available, but you don't have to necessarily be online with the teacher the whole time. Cause that just, it's more functional for the Zoom, and that's just how to get the best experience out of it, because a lot of time it just doesn't really work the same when you're on. I feel like we got all tested. So that was just our main notes.
So what I'm hearing is, so that's, and thank you. That's, I guess there's a difference between, right, if we do decide to have the e-learning day, right, the structure and the design of the e-learning day itself. But so taking a step back though, the decision whether or not to have the e-learning day versus the snow day, I'm curious what student delegates kind of discussed as far as one of the biggest issues that was raised, I think when this was discussed, was notion of equity, and especially with students that may be challenged by an e-learning setting, and making sure that they have an equitable learning experience, and I think that's why there was some of that air on the side of snow day. So did you guys kind of discuss that a little bit about especially students that might have unique needs or challenges in accessing or engaging in remote learning?
We didn't specifically discuss that, but I think we also talked about this, Dr. Johnson too, the e-learning day, it's never gonna be as good as a regular in-school day, and there's just no arguing that. But I think it is like, we talked a lot about how it's kind of something that we shouldn't take for granted that we do have the opportunity to do. Like how OPREP itself has a long history of not canceling school and like forcing every student to go in. So we kind of wanted to use the resources we have to do that. But to the point of it not being a full experience for everyone, I think that's kind of what we were talking about, altering the actual process of how e-learning works. Because I think doing something more asynchronous would better play to the needs of the majority of students. But it's also hard because we also did talk about the students who would be like maybe in charge of their students' day, their parents would be at work. So that also is a bigger issue. So it's kind of complicated, but overall we did agree that we would rather have the e-learning day in most cases.
Thank you, Ella, for sharing your perspective. The other delegates have anything you want to add? But you're all in support of e-learning days. I see lots of head nods. So given the summary and also what we just heard from our student delegates, I don't see a need to have this as a future agenda item, but just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I don't think we need a future agenda item. I think, at the very least, I'm very happy that the administration did develop a policy or some guidelines. One of the things that I think is frustrating for the community and for parents is the unknown, or not being able to anticipate or expect, and not knowing what to expect. And, whether it ends up being an e-learning day or a snow day, I think now having some guidelines for them as to what to anticipate is comforting.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff. I think they're very helpful to know how we might make that decision. Okay. That is it for our committee of the whole meeting. So I, Audrey Williams-Lee, move to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting at 7:56 p.m. May I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned, and we will now move into our special meeting in just a moment.
You ready, go.
Oh, we keep the same, Zoom, great. Okay. So I call to order the special board meeting at 7:58 p.m. in the boardroom of Oak Park River Forest High School. Please call the roll.
Dr. Livingston,
Here?
Mr. Brisbane,
Here.
Mr. Gertz,
Here.
Dr. Odell,
Here.
Mr. Brandhurst,
Here.
Mr. Arkin,
Here.
and Ms. Williams-Lee.
Here. And do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
And we'll move to our action items. And I move to approve the following action items. One, approval of the personnel recommendations, including new hires, assignment changes, resignations, retirements, and leaves of absence.
Second.
Are there any questions, discussion? Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gertz,
Yes.
Mr. Gertz? Oh.
Yes.
Dr. Livingston,
Yes.
Mr. Brisbane,
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Dr. Odell,
Yes.
Mr. Brandhurst.
Yes.
And Ms. Williams-Lee.
Yes. And our second item is approval of the project authorization with FGM Architects for schematic design and project cost estimate for Imagine Act 3 at a cost of $365,000.
Second.
Second, are there any questions or discussion?
So just from a process standpoint, I know this was a discussion of substance on it, which I was present for by the same. We're now acting on this in a special meeting. Is that because there's been material new information since the 18th?
It is because we weren't able to bring, because of various reasons discussed on the 18th, we weren't able to bring the presentation of the concept design on December 4th during a committee meeting. It should be is the normal sequence. So we basically used the regular meeting on the 18th as kind of a committee discussion on the topic, and we're using today as a vote for it, so that we can move along with a schematic design as swiftly as possible.
So it's just a little out of sync.
We're out of sequence.
From the cow versus
You got it.
regular. So the question before us is gonna be a vote to authorize the expenditure of $365K for the next phase of work that FGM is. The slide deck that was included in the board book is dated December 18th.
Correct.
I guess I just want to make a comment on this slide deck from a go forward standpoint. This second page of the slide deck that has a conceptual timeline. The last milestone on that timeline says April 2027 potential referendum. I think going forward, we should strike that milestone, only because it's too early to say. It's too early to project, oh, it's definitely April. It's potentially November versus potentially something else. The other thing I would request. This slide deck template where it's all in blue. It's very wasteful if you print it out. So use a more normal white slide deck.
I'm gonna respond to the first part, I appreciate the blue, but as far as the first part is concerned, as we presented and discussed it that night, the intent of that was really to communicate out, not this is the only potential date. But this timeline allows this as the first potential date that we could do this.
First potential date we could do what?
A referendum.
Is that necessarily true?
I do not see it's possible for us to move through schematic design, get a cost estimate, and then go through a capital campaign for a referendum in a way that would allow us to do something any earlier than this. I don't see that as possible. So that's what I said.
I think the rest of the timeline is reasonable.
Didn't persuade you, huh?
Are you suggesting November 26th as a potential referendum?
I'm unsure what would stop us.
What's the filing deadline?
I don't know what the filing deadline will be in November. The filing deadline for the April referendum would be December of 26. Okay, and so the cost estimate, which is the critical thing that we must know in order for to bring a referendum question to the board for it to vote, is something that we couldn't bring forward until this summer, right? Early this summer. We had May, June for that. And so going to a referendum, what would that be? 5 months later after that I will say that I'm pretty confident that it's not standard practice for school districts of this size. So that would be advisable from my vantage point. But
Do
I get point.
referendums follow the same schedule as candidate filing, same filing deadlines as candidate filing deadlines? Because if so, the candidate filing deadline for the November 26th. Wait, no, scratch that. Hold on. I thought I had it. Anyway, as a reference point, the candidate filing deadline for November 2025 was March 2025. So it's in the state of Illinois, so it's sort of.
I agree with Graham's request that we remove that reference, but I come at it from a different direction. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. We have not had any conversation as a board about our funding decision. And until we do that, I don't think that we should be getting out over our skis and talking about timelines.
Yeah, I'm just suggesting we drop that final milestone. That's certain to project such.
Yeah, I agree with Graham and Tim. That all makes sense.
We can easily remove that then and from any future communications on this and
Well, I will speak on the other side of it.
yeah.
I don't see any harm in saying this is a goal, not a hard fast deadline. And I don't see any harm in trying to follow this timeline. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And we push it. That's happened in the past. So I see this a pretty reasonable timeline based on just the experience that we've had with the first two projects.
I guess. I agree, we haven't had any formal funding discussions, nor do we haven't decided anything. But I do like that having the referendum on the on the timeline signals to the community and members who are paying attention that at some point there would most likely be a referendum. I worry we might telegraph something by pulling the referendum off the timeline. So I think that would be a consideration, but are you suggesting, Graham, that the timeline might be as written too ambitious or not ambitious enough? Or
Could be.
maybe either one?
I think there's no doubt that if this project moves forward, we'll go to the community for a referendum.
Right.
I'm just saying. In January of 2026, I'm not sure. How firm this is, so that's the only reason I can say. Yes, it's gonna go to a referendum, but I'm not sure when.
Is that,
Earlier in that timeline, we have time set aside for talking about exactly that as part of our funding decision. right?
And in fact.
So I think this whole conversation is something that we should be talking about.
Well, and even, I mean, this is one of the material goals that our board has agreed to for this school year, and our board president said, be ready to talk about these goals on the meeting the 29th. So, you know, a couple of weeks from now, we're definitely talking about this. I mean, this is water under the bridge. It's already been published as part of this embracement packet. So I'm just now thinking in terms of these types of materials, having a little bit more thoughtfulness in them before they go out.
It suggests that there's a level of thoughtlessness in it. Frankly, I do object to that.
I didn't say there wasn't thoughtfulness. It's a matter of degree. I just want a chance for us to contribute a little bit more to this stuff.
I guess the last word I'll just say then is that I do stand by that effect. I think that November would be too ambitious. With that aside, I think that the word potential in that is there for a reason, right? We are certainly not saying that is when we would go do this thing. But it is a date that we think is the first possible way where that the district can go about that and reasonably communicate, have thorough conversations with the board and thoroughly communicate with the community about what this might be and how we could develop it. So you know, I feel that the word potential kind of captures that nuance, right? That it could potentially be something other than what we see here. But with that said, to note that this might suggest a level of kind of finality in this. I respect, I get that very much. So
When's the next time we're gonna discuss Act 3 as a meeting item?
Good question. So let's see, the concept design is working here. We have
So Greg, I think it was the very end of May is what we were planning to do, to bring something forward and have conversations in June for us. I don't know about finance.
I'm trying to think if there's anything we would bring forward before that point, but maybe not. The schematics wouldn't be ready yet.
So, okay, that's fine. You know what, then I appreciate your indulgence on talking this through quickly. And we can just table the topic for now, and leading up to the next time building materials coming on this item, then we can visit and decide about that.
Were you gonna say something else, Karen?
I was gonna say what Allison said.
Okay, great.
Any other questions or discussion about this? So, Ms. Evans, please call the roll.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Gertz,
yes,
Dr. Livingston,
Yes.
Dr. Odell,
Yes.
Mr. Grandhouse,
Yes.
Mr. Briscoe,
Yes.
and Ms. Williams.
Yes. And with that, I move to adjourn the special meeting at 8:10 p.m. And second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
She just break my record. I don't know.
No.
She's 40 minutes.